Well, this happened many years ago when I was a little girl in southern Illinois. And I was approximately 12 years old. It was been 60 years ago. Uh, it was the end of the summer months when the berries got ripe, and there was always blackberries and that kind of stuff that grew wild in southern Illinois. And my mom always canned and made pies. So she asked us to go berry picking with her. And I was the only one that said I would go with her. So we got our buckets and we went out, started outside not too far from the house, which was, well, to start with, the place was probably a good 2.5 to 3 miles off the main highway, back into the woods and towards the timber. Down a gravel road and down a gravel lane, there was only our house and one other house that set up probably a half a mile in front of us, away from all the trees, but we sat next to the trees. At one time, there had been loggers back there, and they had left old equipment and stuff sitting up and down the little dirt lane. Anyways, we went berry picking, and we started out fairly close to the house, and we started picking berries. Well, the more further we went, the further we got up towards this bluff where all the trees and everything was at. And not even thinking, we just kept picking berries and having fun that summer with my mom. So we kept picking berries. On up the hill we went, slowly up the hill, getting berries. And I said, Mom, do you think we got enough berries? No, she said, let's get a few more. So we got a few more berries. And by then we were like up this bluff at the top of the hill where the trees and stuff started and all that, really deep into the woods. So we quit picking berries, and we got up there because I said, Mom, we started to turn around and go back because she said we had enough berries. So I didn't know it, but Mom had already saw it before I saw it. And we started walking, and every time we'd take a step, I'd hear this crunch in the leaves. And when I'd stop, it would stop. And I said, Mom, do you hear that? She said, oh, it's just the rabbits and squirrels and stuff. She said up here that's making the noise in the leaves. Don't be worried about it. Just turn around, keep going, don't look back. Let's get home. So I started, took a few steps. I could hear this crunch. I'd stop. It'd stop. Mom said, don't look back, just keep going. So I didn't listen to my mother. I turned and I looked back, and I could see down at the bottom of this bluff from the opposite way we got to the top of the hill. And I could see this thing walking along there. And it was huge, and it was furry. And it had to have been 6 foot tall, at least 7 foot tall, because we were standing up and it still looked huge. So anyways, I said, Mom, do you see that? She said, don't worry about it. She said, keep going. She said, and don't look back. I said, Mom, let's run. She says, no, don't run. She said, just keep walking slowly, keep going back towards the house. And so I did, until we got to the very bottom of that hill. And we got to the very bottom of that hill. I said, can we run now, Mom? She said, yes, you can run if you want to now. So we ran home. We went home and told my dad and my siblings what we'd saw on our berry picking route. And Dad said, well, if that's what you actually saw, he said, there's no bears that are that huge down here. Said, we don't have anything like that. And he said, what you saw was Bigfoot. And so we went on and forgot about Bigfoot after that, because he wasn't in our house or anything, didn't scare us anymore. Anyways, it got colder, and it was like we had one big empty room that we didn't use, and we had it closed off, but my mom had taken a clothesline and tied from corner to corner in the room so she could hang her clothes in there in the winter, because she scrubbed on the board. We lived in southern Illinois. We didn't have a washing machine. We had a scrub board. And you have to remember that was like 60 years ago. A lot of people down in the southern hills didn't have washers. A few had old wringer washers, but my mom had a tub. So anyway, she had went in there. She had hung her clothes up. She went in to get a dress out that she planned on ironing for the next day. And all of a sudden we heard my mom scream. She, just as loud as she could scream. And We heard her feet hitting the floor as they come bouncing through the door into the other rooms. We wanted to know what was going on. Dad said, Jane, what in the world's going on? I said, why are you screaming like that? And she says, well, wait. She said, as I reached to get my dress off the line, she said, I saw this great big huge thing standing there, tall as the windowsill, stooped over, bent with his hands up to the window, looking at me. It was big and hairy. And so Dad, of course, went out, but there was nothing there. He didn't find it, of course. But after that, we was very leery. We didn't go out at night and play in the yards like we had before. So I guess you could say that's the end of the story.